friends, welcome to my channel about creating and using hand spun yarn. My name is Lisa, and in today's video I'm going to show you how you can make a fiber bat for spinning using a drum carder. I hope you enjoy the video, and please feel free to subscribe and hit the notification bell for future spinning videos. I have went ahead and measured out 2 piles of 50 grams of fiber that I'm going to blend today. This is combed Shetland. This is kid mohair, and then I've got a little bit of sparkle here that I'm going to make a bat with. So I'm going to do 2 bats today. I'm going to do this one where I'm using comb top and some add-ins to make a bat, and then I'm going to make another video or another segment where I just use raw locks that have been washed from the sheep. Okay, so let's get started on this. So I'm going to go ahead, and what I'm going to do first is start with my comb top. And I'm just going to start rolling here. I'm going to make a nice layer, and I'm going to sandwich the mohair locks in between. Now, comb top is prepared from the mill. It's all the fibers are aligned and perfectly aligned. I think you can see that here. And so as I send it through the carder, it is going to keep most of that alignment, but it is going to get jumbled up, which is what you want for a woolen style yarn. So I'm just going to get a layer here. I'm going to card this up. What I'm going to do with the mohair is I'm just going to tease it. Now what you can do to prevent this from getting stuck on here is you can take more plain fiber and feed it in with that, and that will help it go through without getting stuck. Putting a little bit of pressure here is good. I'm going to stand up. Now this is how I do the sparkles. Rather than send it through the drum, I actually just feed it onto the main drum like this. You can do is sandwich your more flyaway fibers in between 2 pieces of the roping here. The slower you go, the better. I can see that the fiber is starting to collect on the smaller drum, but I'm going to keep going to see how much I can pack on here. other thing you can do is, if you don't want the locks all blended, I want to keep some of my textural elements in the batt, you can also put the fiber on top of the big drum. It's starting to get full because the little drum is starting to collect quite a bit of fiber. A little bit more sparkle. When this gets full, you know that the drum is getting to its capacity. So I'm going to go ahead and measure what I have here and see how many grams I got on here. All right. I've got about 18 grams left here. So I had 100 grams, I have 18 left. I might be able to squeeze a little bit more on here. Take this off. Yeah, very staticky today. All right, now on the carter there's this seam here, and what you're going to do is take your, this is called a doffer. It's basically a long piece of metal with a point, and you're going to lift up the batt here in sections. Do not cut. You're not supposed to use scissors to cut your fiber. So I find that if you just take a little bit at a time, you can get it to come off. You can see even making a batt on a drum carter is time consuming. I have a lot of static. I think I'll go get my spritzer and just spritz a little bit. See that? Comes off nice and clean. And then what I do, move this over here, is you guys, I'm going to send it through the carter again. I'm going to just use my hands here. Comes off beautifully. There's your batt. Oh, so pretty. I'm going to weigh it now and see what it weighs. It's 87.5 grams. I've got 87.5 grams off the carder. So yeah, almost made 100 grams, but I just couldn't do it. Okay, what I'm going to do now is I'm going to tear this apart like so. Oops. So what I do now is I take it and I put it into strips like this. And then I'm going to send it through the carder a second time to blend it a little bit more. The more times you put it through the carder, the more blended your bat's going to be. And that mohair is very, very flyaway, so I'm going nice and slow. It also comes with this, and that will help pack it in. A little at a time. And then sometimes I'll do this just to help get it off the drum completely, but it's not really needed. It comes off really nice. And there we have it. Very, very fluffy. It's a lot of time at the wheel. Like a pillow. Compared to my head. What I have here in this bag is some Shetland fleece that I purchased and washed, and it's been waiting to get processed. So I wanted to show you how you can take washed fleece. So this is the washed fleece. It's multiple colors of whites and grays, soft grays. It's a Shetland fleece, so I'll show you a lock. So it's about, I'd say 3.5 inch staple. And what I'm going to do is use my Clemes Clemes drum carder and make a bat for spinning. So let's get started. So here's the carder. I cleaned it off from my last bat that I made. And I'm going to go ahead and show you how I can make a bat for my locks. So the first thing you want to do is take your locks and open them up a little bit. Now, some people like to actually flick the tips first with a flick carder or dog brush. This isn't actually a flip carder. Here's one. So some people will just open up the tips, and if you have a fleece that's kind of got a lot of compacted tips, you can do that. This fleece is so open. I don't think I'm going to need to do that. I'm just going to go ahead and tease apart the locks. I'm going to take a variety of colors here, and I'm going to show you how the variety of colors will all blend to a single homogeneous color. So I'm going to go ahead and grab some gray. So what I mean by open is you can see the fleece is fluffy, very lofty, and when you look at the tips, it's just there's no compacted tips. It's just open, you know, it's fluffy. So I'm going to take a few locks here. So whereas other fleeces can be very dense. So I've got a layer here. I've got a nice layer here, and now I'm going to start to card very slowly. I put my hand on the fiber that's going into the carder, but I make sure to keep my hand away from the tines of the drum. And there we got the first layer. I'm going to take some more fiber. And again, what I'm doing is I'm just picking apart the locks. What a carded preparation is ultimately is the fibers all being jumbled up into different directions, depending on how you feed it into the liquor in. This is called the liquor in. Some people will always feed it in tip first or cut in first or sideways. I don't think there's any one proper or correct way to do it. It's whatever works for you. So there's these devices called pickers, which will do this for you. I kind of enjoy this part. So again, I'm just fluffing up the fiber and then feeding it in, keeping some weight on the fiber that's going into the carder. I think I'll take some lighter color now. This fiber is perfect for this carder. It's not too fine. It's a medium fiber. It's a Shetland that's, from what I know about Shetlands, I would call this an intermediate fleece. It's not dual coated, but it's not, doesn't have the super fine crimp of the very, very fine Shetlands. I'm going to do another video on the Shetland breed and my experience with it. But again, you can see this is not double coated, but it's not real a fine crimp either. Is if I see any little dirt or pieces of veg that I didn't catch in the scouring, I pick it apart now, because you want the cleanest fiber possible going into your carder, because if there's a lot of veg matter in your fiber, it's just going to get blended really well with the rest of your batt. So you want to avoid sending a lot of vegetable, or really as little as possible. I mean, there's always going to be a tiny bit of maybe dust particles or dirt. But usually what will happen is that'll be underneath the carder, and I just clean it when I'm done. A couple of tips. You don't want to overload your carder. So like this, if I went ahead and tried to put all that fiber into the carder, it would get jammed, and I would really have to work to get this, and you can damage your carder. So less is more, small amounts. And also they recommend that you go slowly, because the more slowly you go, the better the batt's going to transfer from the liquor into the big drum. I'm not real fussy about the direction of the locks, like I said before. You just can experiment. There's no one perfect way. There's this device here they gave me with the carder. It's called a burnish. No, it's not a burnishing brush. I think they just call it like a packer. And what you do is you hold it onto your big drum. I just hold it and rest my hand here, my elbow here, and then I go around, and that packs it into the big drum. The carder also comes with this, which they call a burnishing brush. And with this, you can also just gently, and what that does is, I guess it sharpens the teeth and packs the fiber in. All right, I'm going to get a little bit more fiber here. I think I'll go with some darker shades. So here's some variegated shades from the fleece. See how open it is? This is how it washed up. I mean, really, for this fiber, you could literally just do this and then just spin it right from the fluff. You don't really even need to process it further, but it is nice to have a big batt to work from. All right, again, try not to put too much in there. Sometimes I'm a little overzealous when I put too much in there. You don't want to do that. So how do you know when you stop? I stop when this starts getting full and coming off the sides. Here I missed it kind of will go off the side, and this will get really full of fiber. This carder really doesn't even need a lot of picking. If it's a relatively open fleece, it'll take it quite nicely. Starting to get full. I'm about ready to take it off. Okay, I think that's about it. Tap it in. And now we're ready to take it off the carder. So we're going to take my doffer, and you're going to find the seam here. See, there's the shortcuts here. I don't want that in my batt, so I'm just going to take that off of there. It's just going to create pills in your yarn, so the shorter cuts, so let's get rid of all that. All right, so I find the seam, which is right here. I hope you can see that. And then I'm just going to lift. Less is more. Again, sometimes I bite off more than I can chew. So just little at a time. You don't have to get it all at once. You don't use scissors though. It just cuts your staples. I don't think you want to do that. But really, there are no rules, just whatever works for you. All right. Got all that. You want a nice clean seam here. You don't want a lot of extra fiber here, because then it's just going to not want to come off. All right, now we're ready to take it off. I'm just going to use my hand and take it off. Sometimes I'll use my little brush to help it come off. And there's one pass, which really is all you're going to need for this. That's what's so beautiful about this carder, is one pass will create a very spinnable batt. So it's up to you if you want to run it through again. You can make a series of batts, maybe 2 or 3, put them into strips and then mix them up so you really get a nice blend of color. But I'm really happy with the way this looks right now, and this is ready for the wheel. So here is the washed fleece, and here is the batt. This was the Shetland and Angelina fiber and mohair, and here is the batt.